So we're pretty much at the end of the year now, and we're starting to kind of get the pre-Avengers Doomsday hype going. There's talk of, I think, a trailer is possibly going to be released during the Avatar movie coming out next month. And like a few pictures have come out. There's like a little bit more press about Doomsday, about like what type of teaser. So since we're gonna start kind of riling up for the whole Doomsday press deal and hyping up for the end of the multiverse saga, I figured I'd like look back on the movies we got this year. We got three movies from Marvel. We got Thunderbolts, we got Brave New World, and we got Fantastic Four. And I guess I just wanted to like talk about out of these three films, how exactly, as far as like quality, how good were they? The world building, how did it really connect to the rest of the MCU? And I guess pretty much like how well have these films like how well have they stood up since they've come out? I mean, I know they just recently came out, but like as far as their place in the MCU, like building towards anything, how well they've like managed so far. So let's start with Brave New World. This was the first film with Sam Wilson, as Captain America, and he had his own Falcon. Now, I did not watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I do think that Joaquin is his name. I think that Joaquin was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, so he has shown up before, and he just pretty much came in this film. So, Captain America: Brave New World, for me, I feel out of the three films we got this year, this is like the fucking just worst as far as like world building and like fucking just any type of like coherent story and having any relevance to anything. Like at the end of this film, I don't really know what this actually adds to anything, and it just has more questions than like anything. It has more problems and questions than it has any solutions or it building towards anything. Like it's a Captain America film, it's supposed to be like a throwback to classic spy thrillers, like The Manchurian Candidate, but it's like a fucking Hulk movie, and then there's a fucking espionage movie. There's a Captain America movie. Then it's like a Civil War movie. Then it's just a superhero action film. It's just like it's such a fucking mix mash of everything. It's not good of any of it. Like none of it works together because the film is supposed to be about Captain America. It's supposed to be a Captain America film, but the main villain is a Hulk villain. Thunderbolt Ross is a fucking Bruce Banner villain, and then fucking Betty Ross, who's never been seen in the whole MCU, just shows up out of fucking nowhere. She's never been mentioned or seen before. I think maybe once in the first Avengers, and suddenly she shows up, and at all this, Hulk is nowhere to be seen. Bruce Banner never shows up. The Hulk never shows up. The fucking I don't even think Bruce is. I think he's mentioned maybe one time, and that's it. Like pretty much most of his story and characters and arc are in a Captain America film with him having nothing to do with it. Betty has nothing to do with Bruce Banner. Doesn't mention him. Thunderbolt Ross doesn't really mention Bruce. Like and then like the fucking I was calling him like pretty much like Brainiac, fucking Brainiac 2.0. He's just a pretty much a forgettable villain. His fucking whole plot doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like his whole scheme of like trying to expose Thunderbolt Ross didn't make any sense. The whole plot about like fucking I forget his name, the black super soldier, the older one, who was in prison, back when he was first a super soldier, when he like suddenly tries to assassinate the president. Like it's never given the consideration that there is like a very documented history in this world of fucking super soldiers being able to be controlled on command and to instantly suddenly act out a character when given certain commands to be able to do things. Like this film acts like that's just not like a thing. Like in this universe, by the time this film is set, there is so many types of mind control. You got the fucking Wanda mind control. You got the fucking Kree mind control. You got the fucking Winter Soldier mind control. You got fucking, this fucking magic. You got like the fucking reality. You got fucking artifacts that can alter reality. Like there is so many means and known means of altering reality, and actually like being able to like control people. That like it's never even given a consideration that like, oh, this might be like a nefarious third party, or like there's someone controlling Isaiah. That's his name. That was his name, Isaiah. Like it's never brought up. And then it another problem with this film, really, except for Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts and this film both have a problem of the characters exist, like these stories exist in their own fucking universe until it needs to be part of the MCU, because Falcon, when like the world is on the brink of World War III, never once tries to reach out to fucking Bruce, especially considering he's dealing with Thunderbolt Ross, never thinks to reach out to him, doesn't go reach out to Nick Fury, doesn't go get Shang-Chi, doesn't get call Captain Marvel. He doesn't call him, like, no superhero on the planet. Like this is a pretty, like, if the world is on the verge of World War III, especially in this world, you would think that, especially if it being broadcast across the world, that every hero that sees that would be like, oh shit, we need to get to DC and we need to figure out, or we need to like call Falcon, call Captain America, and see what's happening, like see what's going on there. But no, like no one shows up. Fucking Spider-Man doesn't show up. No, fucking Star-Lord doesn't show up. Nobody, when the world is about to possibly destroy itself because of World War III against, fucking America and other countries, nobody is around and nobody seems to be able to get involved in this. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, it's so hard because it just breaks the belief that this is like part of any type of shared universe, because like it's just not realistic. It does not, it's not, it doesn't like it's not compatible with being in a shared universe. So that was annoying. But then also on top of that, really the only thing of worth that came out of this film was that adamantium comes from dead celestials, apparently. Now that's not that I'm that was not, I don't know how that's a thing, because like these things, as far as I'm aware, the Celestials, they're not made of adamantium. I don't believe so. I guess because whoever that Eternal was, like they did. I forgot. However, they like froze the Celestial. I guess that's like what possibly caused it to have adamantium, but that's pretty much the only thing this film really adds to the like world building going forward, because it helps sets up the X-Men, because we do know that after Doomsday and Secret Wars that the X-Men are going to be a pretty important part of the MCU. So this does build to, obviously Wolverine and other X-Men characters. So that's the only really thing this film adds to any long term or any type of connective tissue to anything, because everything else in this film pretty much leads to a dead end, because the one villain that Sam has that's like a kind of his villain, not like anyone else's villain, Sidewinder, I think his name is. He's played by the guy that plays Gus Fring. He is like the villain for Captain America, like his kind of like his arch nemesis. And their whole plotline goes nowhere. He ends up getting captured, and he ends up giving information to Sam without getting anything in return, really. And then he says, "Oh, at some point, I'm going to come back and kill you." But honestly, considering how this film did not perform too well, wasn't received as well, when we're going to get another Captain America film is up for question. And then also, like, considering, I forget, I just call him Gus, I'm sorry. Considering Gus is up there in age already, I don't think we're probably going to see him again. Also, considering, like, once again, they're going to be focusing on, like, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, mutants. Fucking Sidewinder is not going to be a consideration. So, the whole plot line, the whole subplot with, Sam and Sidewinder goes nowhere. Thunderbolt Ross ends up in the raft. I don't know why he's there, because he could probably just break out of it as a Red Hulk, but he's there for some reason. And well, he's there because he says that that could contain him. But realistically, I don't think if he actually hulked out, I'm not sure. Maybe they probably could just pull it. It has like some fucking anti Hulk, fucking in like energy enforcement into the wall, so like it just like redirects like attacks from the Hulk. It'll be something like that. But I don't feel like with how the raft has been shown in the MCU that the Red Hulk could not just rip the fucking pieces of the door open or like rip just like a piece of it open and just like hop out and swim up to the surface. Like I don't think that the raft could contain him, but maybe it could. But the whole like side, the main, well, that's not even the side plot. The main, one of the main plots is Thunderbolt Ross and Sam trying to have this begrudging partnership where Thunderbolt Ross wants to kind of make up for all of his, problems that he caused with the Avengers and Hulk and the Bruce Banner, and he's like trying to have like a olive branch to like have the Avengers be reformed and work with the government and be partners instead of being against each other, like Captain America was after Civil War. And Sam is not really too on board with that because it was Thunderbolt Ross that actually put him to fucking jail. Um, so he's not a fan of that. So he's not a fan of Thunderbolt Ross. Not a fan of the fact that he got put in the raft along with his friends, and he knows his history. So like they're trying to like have this begrudging partnership, and it just doesn't work. They end up getting into it constantly, but the whole resolution is that Thunderbolt Ross is in the raft, and Harrison Ford has said that he's not coming back for another movie. He said that he's not interested in coming back for another film. So this pretty much is like the last appearance we're gonna have with Thunderbolt Ross, and it's just him in the raft, and then Betty Ross shows up to talk to him, and that's it. But as far as like Thunderbolt Ross has no impact on the story. The whole Thunderbolt Ross plotline has nothing to add to anything. It doesn't add to anything setting up because the funny thing is, you would think that Thunderbolt Ross would have a very big role in Thunderbolts, but he's never mentioned. I don't know. He's mentioned once. He's mentioned once in a passing line. He has a passing line in Thunderbolts. You would think he would have a big role in Thunderbolts. Like I thought, because I thought when I heard that Brave New World was coming out before Thunderbolts, I figured that Thunderbolts was going to be set up in Captain America, and that Thunderbolt Ross was going to be a big part of Thunderbolts. But no, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They have like nothing really to do with each other until like the post credit scenes. There is nothing that they have to do with this at all. And so the Thunderbolts aren't even a part of it. That doesn't set up the Thunderbolts. And, the whole, President Ross turning into a Hulk and destroying half the White House doesn't add to anything. So one of the main plot lines of the film just goes nowhere. Then the whole plot with Brainiac trying to expose Thunderbolt Ross, I mean, it works kinda, but it goes nowhere because pretty much after this film, like this is never really going to be brought up again. Like pretty much every plot and every like setup almost is just it goes nowhere. Like nothing really goes anywhere. And like so the film like it just doesn't have anything going for it. Like it doesn't set up Sam as a new Captain America. It fails at that. It fails at establishing a new Captain America, like the story for Captain America. It fails at establishing that. Fails at establishing villains. It fails at establishing any type of actual build up and payoff for anything. It fails on every end. And then also, it's just a fucking blender mix mash of just shit that doesn't really go together and shouldn't be like combined. Like if they had just made this somehow into a Hulk film where Captain America just happened to show up in it, that would have made more sense than making this a Captain America film with no Hulk and Bruce Banner, and then having all of Hulk's exclusive like friends, families, and plot lines be given to a character that has nothing to do with the Hulk at all. Like the fact that Sam, I don't even think, and then if in the MCU, I don't even think that Sam and the Hulk have ever talked to each other. I don't even think Sam and Well, I guess they're at the Battle of Wakanda, but like I mean, I don't think they've ever actually interacted before. Like I don't think they've had any type of interaction. I think maybe like a passing word in Infinity War, something like that. But they have nothing to do with each other. And so, like, the fact that this is like trying to be a Hulk film for some reason, and it's also trying to be a Hulk film from a film that has been like 20 years ago, that has been really up for debate as to whether it's been canon. Because, like, there's been a question of, like, is the Edward Norton film actually canon MCU? And, like, there's never been a definitive answer on it. So it's always been kind of up in the air because like pretty much nothing in that film is really added to the MCU. And it was like at that early phase where you could kind of see it wasn't actually canon. But like that film is 20 years old and it's never been brought up or relevant to the MCU. And then for some reason in 2025, this film is relevant to one of the main films of the MCU. And so like the film has to just awkwardly and just very in a overly cartoonish almost exposition way explain events and what happened. Like the fact that Thunderbolt Ross has to keep like bringing up the fact that Betty is my daughter, because most people probably wouldn't even know that Betty is his daughter or who the fuck Betty is. So he has to keep like mentioning like, oh, my daughter Betty, my Betty, Betty, my daughter, because like if he didn't, no one would know who the hell he was talking about. So like it's just like I don't know why or how this was the final draft of a story for a Captain America film. Like how anyone looked at this story and thought that this was a good idea for a Captain America film should be fucking fired, because this is everything but a Captain America film. Because when you look at how the Captain America films have been, they have been the more grounded films. Like Captain America: The First Avenger was a grounded film. Captain America: The Winter Soldier was a grounded film. Captain America: Civil War was still a grounded film. Like all of the Captain America films have been grounded, plot focused films. And that's why they work so good. But this film is trying to be everything, and it fails at all of it. Like it's trying to be every possible film and then fails at being any of them. And then on top of that, it doesn't really build or establish, because Captain America, Sam as Captain America, is supposed to be the new leader of the Avengers. And this film was supposed to be, or it should have, built him up as the new leader, like establish him as the new leader of the Avengers. And it doesn't, like, honestly, I don't think anyone came out of this film with Sam Wilson's character and thought, like, oh, wow, like, I definitely can see him being, like, the leader of the Avengers. Like, nothing about this film built him up to be, like, the new de facto leader of the Avengers. Like, it failed at that. And it failed at just, like, establishing, like, any type of real character for Sam. Like, I mean, yeah, he has the whole conflict about, like, whether he should have took the super soldier serum. But like again, this is another like it goes back to the problem that the film has. Like it has this whole debate of like, because this goes back. This is a callback to Falcon Winter Soldier. I do know that one of the big plot lines was like whether Sam should take the serum, because like the power of it can corrupt a person, and like like that was kind of show, or was tried to be shown with John Walker and other super soldiers, that like taking the serum, you can risk becoming, like pretty much evil. Like it can corrupt people for bad. And like Sam didn't want that. So he decided not to. So like pretty much the reason that Sam, turned down the serum is because like of the corrupting power of it. But then in this film, you could argue that he has far more power than a super soldier. Like he's pretty much a fucking Tony Stark, Ant Man character. Like his tech is as on par almost as a fucking Iron Man suit. Like he's able to fight a Hulk and pretty much not die and hold up pretty well against him, and pretty much actually damage, and probably could have if done well. Like he probably, if he could like have fought a little bit better, could have actually put him down. Like he has so much like tech and like powerful tech gadgets. It's like, I mean, you actually have more power with all of this gear to make up for the lack of having a super soldier serum than if you just had a super soldier serum. So like the film it fails at even that fucking character conflict of like him like whether he should like take the serum or not because later on in the film, when he's fighting the Hulk, the Red Hulk, it's brought up like in a joking way. It's like, oh shit, like I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have listened to Bucky because Bucky said don't take the serum, and he was like, pretty much like implying like if I had taken the serum that like I would be better off. But like honestly, because I don't know, like in Age of Ultron, Tony fought a Hulk with the Hulkbuster. If you replace the Hulkbuster with Captain America, I think he just gets killed. Like I really don't think that Captain. I don't think there's a super soldier that's been maybe except for Sentry. That's a whole other thing. But excluding Sentry, I don't think that there's any other super soldier that could actually do anything against the Hulk. Like I don't even know. Like I don't even think that Captain America, even with his shield, could actually hurt the Hulk. He'd probably just piss him off, tossing his shield at him, and he just rip him in half. So like again, it's like it's a fucking conflict that means nothing and goes nowhere because like even if he had taken the serum, I don't know how that on its own would have been able to like prevent him from just getting ripped to fucking half because like the only reason he doesn't die in this film is because of his tech for the most part. Like if he was taking as much damage directly as he does with the gear that like protects him, he probably would have been fucking destroyed even if he was a super soldier. Like I'm pretty sure like if you replace Sam with Steve and he's like and he had to fight the Hulk like Sam does, he probably would just be fucking splattered. He'd be just mush. Like he wouldn't even he'd be just fucking destroyed. Like I don't even think that Sam would have been able to survive fighting the Hulk if he didn't have his tech. Like that's the funny thing is like the film tries to make it like this fucking conflict, but it's like no, the film unintentionally, very decisively states like who is right. Like no, like no, it's like you kind of were right not to take the super soldier serum because like if you had and you didn't have like this Wakandan tech and all this bleeding edge and nanotech shit, you'd been killed. So like the film does make a pretty definitive like stance on like no, like it's actually a good thing that you didn't take the super soldier serum. The film is like trying to make it a conflict of whether or not it is. So like, it fails on that and like, I don't know. For me, Sam, I don't dislike him. He's not a bad character, but I don't really he's not a character I don't dislike him, but like I could care less if I see him again. Like, and if Sam's supposed to be like the pretty much like the poster shot, like supposed to be like the new Tony Stark, the new Captain America, the new Steve Rogers. Like he's supposed to be like the face of the MCU, pretty much. And for a character that's supposed to be the face of the MCU, I just don't see it. Like, I don't think he has the star power. I don't think they've done enough with his character. And also, like, I feel like this goes back to how the MCU's just been failing lately. This is like the first time we've really seen Captain America, Sam Wilson, actually show up. And like we have one film and a TV show, and then we're supposed to buy him now as like the leader of a group of characters that he's never interacted with. So like that's the other thing is like he's leading the Avengers, a group of characters he has no relationships with, no history with, no anything. Like there is no real any character who's going to be on his Avengers team. He's going to have next to no chemistry or history with because he's never talked to him. And then we don't have a lot of movies and shows developing Sam. Like for the entirety of Sam's screen time in the MCU until Endgame was as a minor supporting character. Like he would show up every now and then. We got like a little bit of backstory, a little bit, just enough story about him just to have like a character. But that was it. Like we never had any type of depth like going into Sam. He was just kind of there, and he showed up sporadically. And now he's the face of the MCU, and we really don't have much more of a character for him now than we did. We actually have less of a character, I feel, now than we did back then when he was like just the Falcon, when he was, like in Winter Soldier and when he was in Civil War. Like I feel like he actually had more of a defined and actual more interesting character back then, especially like being like a former veteran that like helped other veterans with like mental problems, like helping other veterans and like dealing with the loss of his wingman. Like he had an interesting character, even though it wasn't like fully explored and it wasn't like much to it. But he did have like a defined character. Now, I mean, Sam is just kind of, for me at least, he's just kind of there. So like for him to be the new head of the whole MCU, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this film did a good job on it. So for me, Brave New World just wasn't good. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could find some good things to say about it, but fuck, you'd be hard pressed. So for me, Brave New World was just a complete fucking loss. And I mean, also the box office and the reception kind of, agree with that consensus. So Brave New World, fucking trash, pretty much. So let's go on to the Thunderbolts. Now, the Thunderbolts is interesting because this film it had a weird situation because it was praised pretty much like this film kind of had like what the MCU used to have. Like it had that type of praise around it that the MCU used to have. Like it's kind of hard nowadays to remember there was a time when like every MCU film came out and like everyone loved it and it was just great. But this film kind of had that hype around it. Like the reception was great. People loved it. They said the story was good. The characters are good. I know people that like aren't even Marvel fans or like burnt out with Marvel, and they were telling me like, man, I love the story. Like I was into the story. Like I like Thunderbolts. So like the reception from people, they loved it, but the box office did not do well. So like it had a weird reception of like people loved it, but the box office just wasn't there. And from what I can see, I think that this film I think it made less than Brave New World. I don't know. I think it did make less than Brave New World, but it didn't make as much as Marvel would have wanted to, and as much as I guess it needed to or should have. So box office wise, it didn't do well, but reception wise, it did good. And for me personally, I like the story because I liked it by and large because it was very different from what we've gotten from the MCU recently, and at least until the end of the film. I liked the film until the end of the film, and then I started to have some issues, and I had a whole lot more fucking issues with what this film sets up at the very end of it. But for the beginning part, this was more of a character study, like a more of a character focused film. Like Yelena it's pretty much the main character. Like it's about the Thunderbolts and the Sentry and the Void and setting up the new Avengers. Like it has all that, but like Yelena is pretty much like the main character. We follow her for most of the film. It starts with her. She has the most character development. She has the most dialogue. She has the most going for her. Like most of the other characters don't have like as much depth going on than her. Like they have just like some very superficial, surface level issues and conflicts and contribute like a little bit, but like Yelena, she is like the de facto main character. And I think the film did good at like setting her up as a character and like kind of her not dealing well with the loss of her sister, her strained relationship with her dad, fucking being done at the job she's doing, trying like pretty much like feeling just like directionless, not knowing what to do in life, just at this fucking uncertain crossroads, having a lot of mental problems and trauma from, when she was a kid at the Red Room, then like being a brainwashed assassin. So like the film does a good job of exploring that for Yelena, like how that's like factored into who she is now. Because a big thing about this film, like one of the big themes is trauma, mental health, relationships between people. Like those are like the main themes of the film, and I feel like the film did a good job of that. Like especially with Red Soldier. Is that fucking Red Soldier? Okay, I think this Russian Red Soldier. Okay, I was the fucking Russian super soldier. Red. Red Soldier, I think. Okay, I'm gonna say Red Soldier. Yeah, like his relationship with Yelena, I liked it. Like they really put a lot of time into it, like about how both of them like were dealing with Natasha dying, with how they've kind of fallen apart, how they their lives aren't where they want it to be, how they're kind of not liking where they're at in life, and like not really having that closeness together. That dad daughter bond. Like the film does a lot of work in the building of that. Like it also like builds a bit for the others, like John Walker. He gets some character development. Bucky gets. I mean, he doesn't really get much. I mean, he has a cool outfit, but he doesn't get much. But I mean, he gets a slight bit of character development. Like he becomes more of a leader. Like this is, I think, one of the first times we've actually seen Bucky is like more of a leader than like just a side character or just there or just like pretty much like a Steve like side piece, just like there because Steve is. Like this is the first time that like Bucky has actually been in charge, like taking lead, guiding the team, having his own team. I guess it is kind of interesting how like we've come to the point where the Winter Soldier is like the like almost like pretty much like the Captain America, the Steve Rogers of his own team to like protect the world. I think that's an interesting. I guess yeah, I guess it's like a character arc. Like it's an interesting progression. I think of like where we started with the Winter Soldier and like where we're at now with it. I think this film did a good job of kind of showing how much growth and how much development has happened with Bucky over the last decade, and like how the trauma of everything he's gone through, the loss of Steve, dying, fucking, being snapped from existence, like how all that's fucking kind of added to who he is now, like who he's like turned into. So I think the film does a good job of giving Bucky like it. He's not like a main focus, but they do give him a lot of development too. Um, the one character that just got fucking trashed was Taskmaster. Taskmaster, damn, I'm butchering the poor fucking chick's name. Taskmaster. Man, why can I not say that right? But she just gets killed and is like, well, sucks for her, rip, and then no one ever brings her up again. Like she just fucking dies and no one cares or talks about her and the story moves on and yeah, Taskmaster, Jesus, I can't even pronounce the name right. She just shows up, dies, no one gives a fuck. It's like, all right, well, time to move on. So, I mean, she's the only character that really gets dealt a fucking bad. Like, it's actually kind of, it is actually very comical how they just offed her. And they, like, at the same time, they just offed her instantly and then proceeded to have no follow up to it. The trailers tried to make it seem like she was actually going to be, like, in the story for a little bit. And she's not. Like, I think in the trailer, they actually edited her into scenes that she wasn't in originally to give her more fucking screen. She has so little screen time that they had to make screen time for her to even put the fucking trailer. Like that is fucking wild. That they had that little of Taskmaster that they could even put more than like a few seconds of her in the trailer without giving away the fact that she fucking dies like at the beginning of it. Like that 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 is the most funniest thing about this film is just how just casually Taskmaster is just off and just no follow up, no one cares, and it's just like a mention, like, well, fuck her, she's dead, rip, go on. It's like, all right, but besides her, I think everyone else gets pretty good development. I mean, like even Sentry, the Void, I forgot what he goes by when he's not Sentry. Bob, yeah, that's right. Bob Sentry the Void. The film does a good job of like kind of going into like each of those, like the Void aspect of Bob, the Sentry aspect, and how it ties into his schizophrenia when he was like going when he underwent the experiment, how like that got fucking amplified to a cosmic level when he underwent the program and then developed the Sentry Void duality. um So I do think that the film did a good job of introducing Sentry because Sentry is a character that people have been wanting to be in MCU for a long time, and I remember people have been like expecting him to show up as far back as I remember Guardians of the Galaxy two. I remember people were thinking he was going to show up in Infinity War, and then people thought he was going to show up in Endgame. So like people have been expecting Sentry to show up for a while now, and I think the film did a really good job of setting up Sentry, and it did a good job of setting up the Void. The only issue I have when it comes to Sentry is the same problem I have with Captain Marvel is that they've introduced Sentry and they've pretty much hyped him up right now to be like essentially the most powerful superhero. Now that's up for debate. Now that's questionable as to whether that's actually true. And I don't think that's really true. I don't think that's actually accurate. But the film is hyping him up as like like they say in the film, like he's like stronger than the entirety of the Avengers rolled into one. So like he's hyped up as being a very fucking powerful character. And the problem with that is the same problem with Captain Marvel. That you have a character who is so godly powerful, overly powerful, broken, that like you can't use him for much of anything. Like what can you put him in except for like an Avengers film that he can actually do something and not just fucking destroy the villain instantly. Like it should be hard pressed to have a villain that could actually challenge and rival or even possibly beat Sentry. And if there is a character that can do that, then like that character pretty much destroys all the other characters in the Avengers, the new Avengers, because all of them are 1,000 times weaker than Sentry. So like he's the only powerful character. He's the only like actually cosmic tier character in the whole Avengers group. All the other Avengers, fucking Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, they're all just like humans to like to just slightly peak human to just super soldier human. None of them are like fucking gods, sorcerers, witches, reality warpers, fucking gamma radiated monsters, fucking symbiotes or fucking scrolls. Like they are just it's pretty much like the Avengers now is just a bunch of people with guns and knives and weapons, and then a fucking cosmic Superman. Like that is the new Avengers, and like I don't know how is there ever going to be like except for a big like Doomsday Secret Wars event like when are they going to ever use him? So like you have this interesting, cool character who could be really an interesting character to have as like like a focal, like a focus, like centerpiece of the MCU. Jesus, you could I accidentally hit the microphone there. Anyways, you could easily have him like be like a centerpiece of the MCU, but instead I feel like he's going to be like Captain Marvel is like you rarely see Captain Marvel because it's like, well, yeah, what happens when she shows up and she just destroys the villain in one hit and then leaves? Like, there's no conflict. So I feel like they've made Sentry so powerful. I don't know how he's going to really show up and be able to be in anything except for like the big, team up movies. And in that case, we're not going to really see the Sentry for a while. Like after Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're pretty much not going to see Sentry for a long time. So it kind of seems like useless if that's the case to introduce him and hype him up and like make a movie about a character. Because pretty much Thunderbolts, the one thing it does set up pretty well is Sentry and the Void, and it sets up the Avengers, but it does set up Sentry and the Void really good. So for this film to just have so much focus on Sentry and the Void and Bob, to just have all of them not be really involved in the MCU for like years on end just feels like a waste of a movie and waste of just this character and a waste of this film setting him up. So I hope that I don't know, like, because the other option is they're going to have to like either depower him or nerf him, or they're going to have some like convoluted way of like why he can't use all of his powers, or like why his powers don't work the full capacity. Like he can only use them like 10%. They'll come up with, they might come up with like some contrived reason why he can't just, destroy or like instantly kill any villain. When he does show up somewhere. So like I could see that, but like I feel like they're just gonna not want to go through the trouble of like trying to like figure out how he doesn't just one shot any villain and they're just not gonna use him. So that's one of my only kind of concerns and one of my own kind of criticisms is like I don't think that it was I get why they hyped the Sentry up to be like this because in the comics he's like that powerful, but like I don't know the MCU they power scaling in the MCU has been fucking atrocious for a while now, and I mean they used to have a good power scaling I guess system, but now the power scaling of the MCU is just so fucking broken and all over the fucking place. I don't even know like where like the Sentry like he's up there, and it's like I mean I don't know like Tentri's a character like this is they don't know how to handle them well. Like they don't know how to handle like Wanda. Like like that was my problem with Wanda. Like if Wanda had stayed around as like a good guy, it's like well what is she going to be like? She's never going to show up because she's too powerful to like be stopped by anyone or like if any other character like Captain Marvel like showed up like it would just would be no conflict, there'd be no like actual issues that like any other superhero would have. So like I don't know, I feel like that's like a problem that the MCU's had for a while now. But besides that issue, I do think that the film it does do a good job of like out of all the three, I think this film does the best in like setting up anything going forward because it establishes the new Avengers. We finally know a year before the next Avengers film comes out, we finally know who the Avengers are. That is fucking insane. It has taken this long for us to know the Avengers. Um, Now, with that said, who we have as the Avengers is it's almost like a parody because essentially who you have as the new Avengers, you got a fucking Soviet sponsored super soldier. You got a Red Room trained formerly brainwashed assassin who's the sister of Natasha, who was also a Black Widow who was like brainwashed. You have John Walker, who is a disgraced Captain America who was stripped of his title by the US government. You got Bob, who turned into the void and sent the entirety of New York to the Shadow Realm to an infinite nightmare of their worst memories and their worst, the worst fucking experiences of their lives. They were trapped in an infinite loop of that for pretty much for them an indefinite amount of time. And by the way, he can just at any time that he can go back into that. Like that, there's no stopping him. There's nothing stopping him from in 5 minutes just suddenly becoming the void and then like fucking sending the entirety of the planet to the Shadow Realm. And the film doesn't even have a good like counter for like oh they're just like oh well yeah pretty much like the film can't really account for it. So like a character who pretty much is a straight. I mean, the void is pretty much just pure evil. Is pretty much what it is. It can turn into this, and it did turn into this. Sent the entirety of New York into the Shadow Realm, into an infinite reality of your worst nightmares and your worst experiences in a fucking infinite loop to you. So now, one of the crowning Avengers pretty much has traumatized for life the entirety of New York City. And also the aftermath of this will never be addressed. Like, we're never going to bring up the fact that fucking Bob went AWOL and fucking sent the entirety of New York into the Shadow Realm and all the fucking fallout from that would cause. But, you know, that's the other Avenger. So, and you got Ghost, who is a villain of Ant Man. So, pretty much the new Avengers are former Soviet assassins or Soviet superheroes and a supervillain demon persona that can and will send possibly the entire planet into the shadow realm and is uncontrolled and can emerge at any point, any time, without anyone to be able to stop it, pretty much. And then you got Bucky Barnes. Of course, how can we forget Bucky? We got Bucky Barnes, and I mean, do we need to even go? The fucking Winter Soldier who worked for who? Well, I mean, he pretty much was controlled by Hydra for decades. Was responsible for assassinating John F. Kennedy, committed God knows how many war crimes, and now not only is he a member of the Avengers, but he's a fucking he's running for Congress, and he's in Congress, and that's the Avengers. Um, it's a choice. That's all I can say. I mean, as much as I give it praise for setting up the Avengers, why? Why would like why out of all the characters? Because one of the arguments I've heard is like, well, they haven't set any other character up, so they had to make these characters the new Avengers. No, they didn't. No one, there is not a single fucking person who was saying that Ghost or fucking the Red Russian or the Russian Soldier should be the new Avengers. That like if no character has been built up to be another Avenger, these characters shouldn't even be in the qualification for it. Like you could have easily just fucking thrown Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Wong, Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Monica Rambeau, fucking Thor's new or Thor's adopted daughter. You could throw in fucking White Vision. You could throw in fucking Wiccan. You could there are fucking and there is an endless list of characters far better and more reasonable and more makes sense choices than what we got. Because what we got is essentially a group of assassins, Soviets, a Soviet state sponsored superheroes and supervillains, and a fucking super soldier that also is responsible for assassinating a U.S. president. That is who the modern Avengers are. Fucking fall from grace from fucking Steve Rogers, Captain America, fighting Hydra, defeating the Nazis, and fucking Iron Man who saved the universe, and fucking Bruce Banner, one of the most renowned minds in the universe, and fucking Thor, a Norse god. And then you had Natasha, who was a trained spy and an assassin. Like the original Avengers were a well-rounded team. This team is not a well-rounded team, not from a character perspective, a narrative perspective, or a power perspective. This team is fucking comically uneven. Now, they are the new Avengers, and they're going to be in Doomsday, so we're going to see how that turns out. But I mean, besides that, like I think this was a pretty good film. Like I liked it. I totally see why people like this film, and I wish it made more money because I would love to see more films like this, opposed to like fucking Multiverse of Madness or Brave New World. Like I would happily take these types of films over that any day. So for me, Thunderbolts, pretty good film. And then lastly, we got Fantastic Four, which we finally got the Fantastic Four. And I said this in my review of Fantastic Four. It's the best Fantastic Four, but then again, that doesn't mean much because there's never been a good one, so it doesn't have much fucking competition. But I think not only is it a good Fantastic Four film, I think it's just a good film in general. Like I think it's a good Fantastic Four film. It it captures the family dynamic of the Fantastic Four, and that's really like one of the main things about the Fantastic Four is the family element. How they are a family, them working as a family, them being a superhero family. Like that's central to them as characters and their stories, and I think this film did a good job of capturing that. And also the aesthetic. I like the alternate advanced sci-fi 60s kind of like Fallout type setting, that they made for it. I like the setting. I think the setting fits. I think it's like a pretty nice homage to the old Fantastic Four, stories. But the one thing I think this film did good and it was a good choice, is that this film is completely disconnected from all the other Marvel films. Like this, the Fantastic Four, they are in a completely different universe. So they are on there. This is pretty much an original story. And I think that's the best thing because, like, at this point, with how well established and well developed as the MCU is, I don't know, for as iconic and as big parts of the MCU as the Fantastic Four are going to be, I don't know how you could introduce them at this point. I don't think, and I think it would just been way too fucking convoluted to try to do it. So I think that it was a good choice to just make this its separate thing. And since this is a multiverse story, it makes sense that they explains why they would have to go to another multiverse, why other multiverses were going to go see the Fantastic Four. So it does play into, and it does kind of tease and set up for the whole end of the multiverse saga with Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think that was a good choice. And now as far as the movie, I think it was decent, but I think that the story was just a bit lacking, and I feel that this film didn't really. It was almost like it was afraid of having any stakes. Like anytime there was an issue or a conflict, it felt like the film like had to rush to try to like fix it or to make it not a problem. Like whenever Reed and Sue would have an argument and it would get like pretty intense, instead of like actually kind of following on that, it just kind of ends abruptly. Like it's like they don't want to actually have like a actual fallout, like to deal with that, or like when any of the Fantastic Four are like arguing with each other, like when like an issue comes up and like there's a pretty tense, divide between the members, it just suddenly drops. Like when there's a conflict with like the public and the Fantastic Four, it's just dropped abruptly. Like they like Sue gives a little speech and all suddenly it's like all okay. And at the end, when Sue is about to die, she doesn't, because she gets brought back to life. Because well, also they're not going to kill Sue Storm in her first film and the fucking MCU. That's just not going to happen. So like again, like at every turn, the film does everything it can to not have stakes. Like even when it's like the world's at stake, it's like, well, not really. Like the film doesn't really do a good job of having stakes. Like it tries to make it seem like it has stakes, but realistically, it doesn't really have any stakes. And that was kind of that's one of my big problems with this film when I saw it. Was just like it got annoying where I was like, God damn, like man, like is there anything like is everything in this film just gonna perfectly work itself out? Like nothing's gonna be an issue? And I mean, yeah, I mean there are issues, but like again, they don't like continue with them. They don't commit to them. They just drop them, and then they just resolve themselves, or it just never comes up again. Like when Reed like goes off about like how like his mind's always thinking about like the worst things, and like that he hates how his mind works because like he's always thinking of like the worst case scenarios and like how to deal with them, and like how he hates how his mind works. Like you could go to some pretty like dark and like some pretty interesting places with that. They just kind of drop it. Like it's never really brought up again. And there's so much you could do with it. And so that was my one of my big issues with the film. But my other problem with the film was Galactus and Silver Surfer, because Galactus, I feel like, was just a waste in this film. I feel like honestly, you could have just made Galactus a generic celestial from like the Eternals, and it would have been no different. Because like to me, I think that Galactus should be saved for a major appearance. I mean, I know that they probably at this point probably not going to do a Galactus saga, but I don't know. I think that, and they might, but I think you should. I think he should have been saved for like a phase, like after Doomsday, like you're focusing on the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. You could build to Galactus as the next big villain, the next big cosmic threat, or the next big cosmic phase. But instead, we got him in Fantastic Four, which I mean, it makes sense. Like I get why, because he's a staple, Fantastic Four villain, just like Doctor Doom is. So like it makes sense that he's there. But like I feel like we don't we don't get a lot of him in this film, and he pretty much just gives exposition when he shows up. He then shows up at the end of the film, and he's fucking insanely small. Like he's barely the size of a skyscraper. I mean, he's always portrayed like this is a cosmic being that eats planets. Like he is supposed to be like as big as Erisham was in Eternals when he fucking beamed up the Eternals at the end of the Eternals movie. Galactus is like he should have been the size of Erisham and possibly like two times bigger. Like that's how colossal Galactus should be. Now I get why they didn't do that because it would be fucking difficult to make any type of battle with a planet sized Galactus and these human sized characters. Like I get that it would be very difficult on the scale level to try to do that, but like he like the scale of what he is in this film is like all over the place because like when he first shows up it looks like he's fucking massive, but then you see him show up on Earth and he's fucking small, and on top of that he doesn't do anything. Like he doesn't have any cosmic powers. He just walks around and he fires like some eye lasers, and like Sue is pretty much able to just like push him back and he can't do anything. Like Sue is able just to push him like half across the town, and he's just like stumbling and bumbling like a fucking drunk dude out of a bar, or like a fucking clumsy giant just with his arms in the air. He can't do anything. Like he doesn't have any cosmic like rays or reality warping or like manipulating the environment or like controlling the weather or like having any type of energy blast. Like no magic. He has nothing. He gets pushed back and then sent to another fucking dimension by the teleportation device, and then that's the end of him. Like that was Galactus. That was his debut into the MCU. Was just getting pushed half across the fucking city and then up into a teleportation device. So I feel like for Galactus, this was not a good first showing, and then the Silver Surfer, kind of the same thing because like the film it does this weird like it wants to make her a good guy at the end where it's like she's portrayed as like, oh, I'm a victim and I am a actually a good person, but it's like no you're not. Like you're pretty awful. Like you like how she is stopped is that Johnny plays her the recordings of all these planets of like them pleading for their lives before Galactus ate them, and like the guilt of that just drives her crazy, and she flies off, and then she comes back later as a good guy to like correct her mistakes. But it's like she should know this. Like you personally go to these planets, and you don't have to. You personally go there and tell them that their time is limited and that they are going to die, and to cherish their time and their loved ones. You know that you are dooming these people to their deaths, and you know that full knowingly. But for some reason, you hear it over a recording, and it's just like a fucking light bulb moment. Oh my god, what I'm doing is awful. It's like, yeah, no shit, it's awful. Of course, it's fucking awful. Like, why would you not think that? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And like, and then she at the end like betrays Galactus, but then that just fucks up her character because like the one of the reasons she became Galactus's herald was so that she would like save her planet. Like he said, like I will spare your planet if you become my herald. And so now that she's turned on him, well, you sacrifice all of this to become his herald, and you've sacrificed all these billions of lives for the expense of your planet to now fuck that for no reason, and he's still alive. Like I mean, the only thing I could, the only charitable uh like a perception or the only interpretation I could see that is charitable is that she thought when Galactus was getting pushed through that portal that that was gonna like kill him. Like she just assumed that was like some device to somehow kill Galactus. And if that's the case, okay, I could see it. But like she doesn't know she doesn't know what's happening. Like she barely like I think she knew that think she knew I think no, I think it's in the film she did know. But however, like I don't think she was aware of like how that thing was working. So she shouldn't have assumed anything. So the fact that she betrayed Galactus and he knows that she betrayed him, Well, now, when and if he gets out of wherever he's at, well, he's just gonna go to her planet probably and kill her planet, and then probably kill her. So, or try to kill her, and then she's gonna be on the run for the rest of her life because Galactus is gonna be fucking gunning for her. So, like, I don't know, like this is like her actions have like kind of just destroyed her character and made her a worse character by trying to make her a redeemed hero, like and trying to make her a good guy. They have fucked her character and made her a hundred times worse, horrible person than she was before. That's like actually impressive that they were able to do that. So Silver Surfer and Galactus, not good showings for either. I will say, I think it'd be hilarious if the Fantastic Four fucking teleported Galactus to like the sacred timeline, and like at some point in the future, it like comes out that like, oh shit, Reed and the Fantastic Four actually sent that planet-eating fucking monster to our universe, and like wreaked havoc for fucking years on end before we stopped. But that's great. That's nice. Like that. I mean, it realistically, it probably won't go nowhere. But like, it would be kind of funny if like it actually was a plot point down the line of like the fact that the Fantastic Four sent Galactus to a whole nother universe or like the edge of the universe because like the Fantastic Four for some reason assume that like sending him to like the end or the edge of the universe will like keep him there. They don't know anything about Galactus, and they've seen him teleport across the universe. So like I don't know why they don't how they are so certain that he's not going to be able to come back. I don't know. But also they can't be certain as to where they're sending him. Like they might plan this, they like it might be like intending to send him to the edge of the universe, but they could fuck up and send him to an entirely different universe, a whole new multiverse. Like they don't know. Like so they've just essentially teleported this cosmic planet eating being to another part of of the universe or to another universe who might not even know who Galactus is to now just destroy and kill billions of life forms. So that could be an interesting little thought to consider when going forward to Fantastic Four. But like I mean, the film I don't know. This film is kind of strange because it does set up the whole idea of like a multiverse. Like it does kind of explore some concepts that are going to be big and like obviously, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. The connections there, obviously. It is funny. There's an Easter egg in this film where they have a pretty much like a UN, like a meeting of all the nations, and the Liberia space is empty, and that is famously Doctor Doom's country. And now I don't know if Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom is going to be from this Fantastic Four universe, because we know nothing about that Doctor Doom, so we have no idea what the fuck he's going to be from, where he's from, who he knows. But it seems like it's supposed to be implied that the Doctor Doom in this universe is the Doctor Doom that I almost said Tony Stark is playing, the one that Robert Downey Jr. is playing. It seems to be that Doctor Doom is from this universe, and like the post credit scene shows Doctor Doom, talking or like interacting with Franklin Richards. So it's implied that this is the main Doctor Doom. So that's some. I thought that was a nice little Easter egg setup. But now the thing that the Fantastic Four did set up, which has the same problem as the Century, is so Franklin Richards in the comics is one of the more powerful characters. Like they are like pretty much like Omega level reality warp. It can pretty much do whatever the fuck they want to. Like Franklin Richards is just as up there as you can get with powerful characters. Like he is up there on the echelon of power. And the Fantastic Four film has pretty much played into that and set up Franklin Richards to essentially be like arguably possibly the most powerful character in the entirety of the universe, and not only the universe. Like the way Franklin Richards is being kind of hyped up from this film, it's kind of seeming like he's going to be the most powerful being in the entirety of the MCU. Like he's going to be like the god of the MCU is what they're kind of setting him up to be. And to me, that is a problem because again, they have this is the Century Captain Marvel problem on a trillion of steroids because you're gonna have a character that can literally do anything. Like at least with Captain Marvel and Sentry, they're limited to just like certain powers that they can have. But with Franklin, he can just do anything, like literally anything, and he can't be hurt pretty much. Can make anything, can make reality, can do anything pretty much. He's like Doctor Manhattan. He's fucking just crazy. And now the MCU has introduced this character and they're gonna be like a pretty important character going forward. Um because Galactus in the film wanted him to replace him as the devourer of worlds essentially. Because like he has like that much power. Like he has the power pretty much like has the power cosmic essentially. So this film did set up Franklin Richard, which I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe Franklin is going to be important to Doomsday. I mean, I could see it. I mean, the fact that was interacting with Doom, the fact that Doom showed up to Franklin, I'm assuming he's going to be important to Doomsday. Like the fact that he is as powerful as he can be, or is going to be. He might be a big plot point in Doomsday, but I don't know though. But I feel like the fact that they have again, this is the second time this year they've done this. A character so powerful, it's like okay, so how this character just can't exist? Like they're just never going to be seen again. Like you're gonna set up a character that we're never gonna really see or gonna see like very sporadically, like years and years apart, and they're not gonna have any type of development because like they show up like twice every 5 or 6 years until like the next big like team up event. And so I don't know. I feel like trying to establish yeah, again, going back to like the whole century rant, like the MCU is just not good at handling these like cosmic, very powerful characters and like integrating them into the MCU in a way that they can like be involved and be consistently like interconnected into stories without just like having them ruin any type of stakes or any type of like actual conflict with any other character. Like the MCU they don't really have a good balance of that. So like to try to now make like the worst possible scenario of that and like make it a central point of the MCU, I don't think is a good idea. But I don't know. Like I think this film on its own, I think it works as a standalone film. I mean, I liked the story. I mean, I just had issues with like certain parts of it. Like I was saying in my review of Fantastic Four, I feel like Reed Richards in this film was not portrayed as being anywhere near like the smartest man in the universe or like the smartest man on the planet. Like, I mean, yeah, he's portrayed as being smart in this film, but like in this film, I did not believe he was as smart as like a Tony Stark in the main universe. Like, I don't believe he would be on a Hank Pym, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner level from what I saw of him in this film. Like he had mistakes and made mistakes that like a normal person would make. Like someone that is below an IQ in the negative 90s wouldn't even make some of the mistakes and say some of the shit he did. So I don't think the film did a good job of portraying him as being a hyper intelligent person. But I mean, it did establish him as a good Reed Richards, but as far as like the intelligence part, not really. And also the powers, like the stretchy powers. We don't get a lot of stretchy powers. Like we see him like he'll reach for stuff and like use his stretchy arms, but we don't get the stretch. We don't get any of the like the fucking Elastic Girl shape shifting or the fucking Luffy with the gears or anything. Like we just get like him just stretching and he gets like literally stretched by Galactus very slowly and very carefully not to rip him in half. And it doesn't seem like he can stretch that long either. Like it seems like the stretch ain't that long. So it's like fuck man. You got Reed Richards with no stretch. That's fucked, man. Like, you gotta give him a boy to stretchy. And he just doesn't use those powers. Like, I mean, I guess I get it because I guess stretchy powers are kind of hard to do in real life. It's very easy to do in anime and cartoons, like Elastigirl and the Incredibles, Luffy in One Piece. Like it's a lot easier to like have those powers portrayed because I think it could easily look fucking either just awful or fucking just overly comical having stretchy powers. But I don't know. I feel like they could have like been because like with like with stretchy powers or elastic powers, like it is one of those powers that kind of scales to creativity. So like the more creative you are, the more powerful you can like make your attacks and your abilities and just more versatile. Like your weapons are like you're just like an arsenal is. Like it is a power that is very not like limited. Like it is really just limited by the imagination of the person. So I feel like we didn't really get a good display of the stretchy powers, but maybe later on, like in Doomsday, he might pull out some crazy shit. But in this film, tragically, we did not get any stretch. Not well, we got some, but not a lot of stretch. And as far as the other characters, like Johnny Storm, funny enough, I feel like Johnny had like the best portrayal. Well, Sue did. Sue had the best because she was able to like force push Galactus half across the fucking city. So that trumps anything any other Fantastic Four could do. Like, the Thing and Mr. Fantastic and Johnny, like, the three of them combined could do fucking nothing. Like, at best, they were just, like, annoying Galactus. Like, they could do fucking nothing. And then Sue comes in on her own and then fucking just bulldozes him half across the city. And I mean, yeah, she like dies almost, but like the fact that she could even do that is insane. Like that she is that more like the power scaling of the Fantastic Four is that fucking like the difference of like Sue in her own league against like the rest of the characters. Like I feel like the film did a good job of portraying her powers. Like I will say it was I would have never thought I would have seen like an invisible how to describe this. Like so Sue was like able to like make herself invisible to where like you can see like when she's pregnant, like the baby inside of her. So like you can like see like she's invisible, but like the baby, like her insides are all visible. That was fucking wild. I was like, I did not expect to see that ever, but I never would have expected to see that in the MCU. But I was like, fuck, there we go. Like that was that was a bit that was surprising to me. But I do think that her powers were the best demonstrated out of the four. The one who had fuck all to do in this film was the Thing. The Thing had fucking nothing going. Like he had a girlfriend that was in this film for like 2 seconds and never shows up again. And as far as like any conflict of like him looking like he does, but disfigured, monstrous, never comes up. Like there's like a little tease when he like looks at himself in a store window and it's like footage of him when he was a person going into space as an astronaut. And he like kind of looks sadly at the window, like as how he used to be. But other than that, like he has nothing. Like the Thing. I mean, as far as like the main conflict, he's not really involved with it. Like he's there, but that's it. He doesn't. His powers are, he's just a strong big dude, but like he doesn't really. He's not like you think about the Hulk. Like the Hulk in the first Avengers, famously, punched a Chitari fucking deal and I was like insanely fucking long and giant. Or you think about him like fucking suplexing the wolf in Ragnarok, or you think about him like fucking punching Suitor in Ragnarok, like or you think about like the Ed Norton film, like the insane feats of just like ripping shit apart like it's just toilet paper. Like there have been so many good examples of like superhuman strength, and I feel like with Ben, he just kind of had just he was strong, like he could lift up cars and vehicles, but like that was it. Like he literally gets hurled into orbit, and fucking Johnny Storm has to go fly and save him for getting fucking yeeted into space. Like he doesn't have a whole lot going for him. So like the Thing, Ben Grimm is like pretty much just there. Like he has nothing going. Like Johnny, has Yeah, I would say Johnny has a lot going for him, more than I thought, because he is interested in like space. He wants to be more involved in the space exploration. He is actually very critical. He's actually very crucial in like a critical point, like a critical part of like saving the world and like actually getting Silver Surfer to like become a good guy. So like he's pretty integral to the story, and like they also make him kind of like a little bit of a shift from what you'd expect of like just being an obnoxious annoying playboy type. Like he's a playboy, like hey, he hits on the chicks, but like he has more to him than just like being a fucking horn dog. And I think it works though. Like I feel like Johnny, I think Johnny out of all the Fantastic Four, you could put him in like a lot of other like stories with like a lot of other characters, and he would fit well. Like I feel like the way Johnny was set up in this film, he can pretty easily be put into any other team. Like I could see him like talking to Star Lord. I could see him talking to like the Hulk. I could see him talking to Deadpool. I could see him interacting with Rocket. Like I could see him having chemistry with like most of the characters in the MCU, which is a fucking cool trait. That's a fucking cool thing to have. Like to be able to have that just like almost universal compatibility. That's pretty good to have that. Like I think it's pretty impressive to have a character that you can have that with. So that's actually pretty impressive to me, like of how they were able to make Johnny more than just like the generic annoying fucking jock, playboy, fucking gooning after the chicks, wanting to fuck every chick that moves. Like they give him more than that, and like to kind of actually give him a little bit of depth on top of it. Like I don't know what I liked it. I thought it was a pleasant surprise. So for me, I think that Fantastic Four was a really good film. For me, I rank it under Thunderbolts just because I don't know. I liked more Thunderbolts, and even though I didn't like the third act of Thunderbolts, I liked more of the story that Thunderbolts told than Fantastic Four. But Fantastic Four is also pretty good, and I think this film does actually work in setting up the Fantastic Four. Like I feel like this film did a good job of establishing this Fantastic Four as the Fantastic Four. I feel like we got a good besides the thing. 3 or 4. So I think by and large, 3 or 4, pretty much the majority. The majority, and also a group. Like, I mean, if we're talking as a group, I feel that this film did a good job of setting them up. Like I was saying earlier about the family dynamic. Like, I feel like you do believe that these characters are a family. They do love each other. They do have history. They, like a family does have falling outs and they have, issues and disagreements and they break apart for a little bit, but they come together. Like, I feel like the film really does capture that really good. And so I think the film did a perfect job of setting up the Fantastic Four. It did a perfect job. I mean, it did a good job. Maybe not perfect, but it did a good job of setting up, about more, the multiverse and the Fantastic Four possibly going other places. It set up, Doctor Doom with Franklin. So there's a conflict with there's a direct conflict between the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom, which connects to Doomsday. So that sets up their connection to Doomsday. So I feel like the story overall was good. It did build to the world building at MCU, and I think it did in a good way. I think that the way that they introduced the Fantastic Four was the right way to do it at this point. I think they did it the best way they could. And so for me, I think Fantastic Four was solid. I thought it was good, and I thought it did a good job of setting up, future MCU projects. So for me, it was the fucking W. And so with that, we got the 3 films. I have not seen any of the shows this year. Probably will not. But strictly sticking to the films, looking at the 3 we got all together, I think that this year, if we're talking from just a story from a story perspective, I think this year was in the majority for the better. I think that Thunderbolts was good, and I think Fantastic Four was good, and I think it's been pretty much agreed by the majority, even by Marvel, that Brave New World was a loss. Not good. For me, trash, as far as I'm concerned. So for me, I think 2 or 3, not bad. box office wise, Fantastic Four seemed to do good. Thunderbolts underperformed. Brave New World didn't do too well. So the box office for Marvel this year was, I guess, I would say mixed at best. As far as hype for Doomsday, honestly, I feel like as much as I like Thunderbolts and I like Fantastic Four, I don't think this film has really helped give any hype or interest to Doomsday. I feel like there might not be a whole. I mean, there will be just kind of like how Star Wars used to be. You know, I think just from the name and being Avengers and people kind of wanting to have that magic of Endgame and Infinity War back again, it might have some buzz and some interest, but we're not going to have nothing near the Infinity War. Like if by this point when Infinity War was coming out, like there had been so much fucking hype, fucking media was talking about it, all the fucking major news, outlets were talking about it, fucking online. Like you couldn't, you even if you were like the most reclusive anti-film, anti-comic book person, you were hearing about Infinity War way before it was even near getting out. Like that's how I partly got into the MCU, because like the whole hype around it for so long, I was like, well, damn, I should probably just start binging all the films before it comes out, because this thing seems to be like, it seemed like Infinity War was being, and well, it turned out to be for a while, like one of the biggest films. I guess it still is actually like one of the biggest films in history. And the hype around it was insane. Like the build up, the trailers, the reactions, the theories, the fucking fake trailers, all the fucking conspiracies of like what's gonna happen and changes, and like how Marvel was like gonna release different films of the same one. Like there was so much fucking hype for a long time for those films, for Doom, for not Doomsday, for Endgame and for Infinity War. And for Doomsday, like, I mean, we're in November, and unless they delay it again, we're going to be getting Doomsday in November of next year. And I feel like the hype is just kind of cold. I don't think there's really much hype. Like, I feel like Marvel is trying to generate hype with like releasing like photos and shit like that, like in behind the scenes photos. Like, I feel like Marvel is trying to fucking generate some interest because there's just none right now. Like, no one's really talking about Marvel or talking about Doomsday or Secret Wars. I don't even think most people probably know when the fuck this movie comes out next year. Like that shows how little interest people have in it. Like even Marvel fans are just kind of just indifferent to it. So like I feel like the hype for Doomsday is just not there, and all the films this year did not help towards it. So I feel like as far as like this year helping build until into Doomsday and Secret Wars, no, didn't do a good job. I mean, yeah, the Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts like individually help set up like possible plot lines and possible stories and characters for later on, but like I don't think this did a good job of like stirring any interest around Doomsday. Like I don't think anyone's like excited to see Yelena and fucking Reed Richards talk or interact, or fucking the Thing and Hulk meet for the first time. Like I feel like people are just not that invested in this phase, and I just think people are just not interested in this whole, like they are so burned out by this whole multiverse saga, they're just wanting it to fucking end so something else could come along. So I feel like people are just waiting for the multiverse saga to fucking just die so that like something new can actually come and like be good. So the hype isn't there, and these films didn't help build to it. But I think, by and large, I mean, at least from just a story standpoint, I think that this year was an okay side. And next year we only have, I think, two films. We have the Spider-Man film, which comes out before Doomsday, and then we just have Doomsday. Then we got the Wonder Man show that got delayed till early next year in January. So technically, we got the show, and that's all I know is coming out next year. They probably got more, but that's all. That's what I know is like the main things is the Wonder Man show. Then they got Spider Man, and then they got Doomsday coming out. And so we got two films next year, and I mean maybe Spider Man, like the hype from Spider Man might definitely generate some interest for Doomsday, but other than that, there's not much. Like, the kind of the road to doomsday is just kind of lukewarm at best. I mean, it might get a little bit more get like a little bit more active as we get closer. But I don't know. It seems like people are just kind of like, all right, there's a Marvel film, and most people don't even keep up with them anymore. So, we'll have to see how, when we get closer to Doomsday, like what, the kind of the hype around it looks like, whether it's just still fucking depressing or it's like got like a little bit of interest to it than it does now. But it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. But overall, that kind of wraps it up for Marvel this year. And with that said, that also wraps it up for me. And I will see you good people later.